The presenting sponsor for OnEducation is Classcraft. We're excited to announce Classcraft's new story mode, which makes it easy for educators to harness the power of stories. Episodes 1 and 2 of Season 1 are ready for you and your students to play today, and it's completely free. To learn more about Classcraft and the new story mode, simply visit classcraft.com/oneducation.
And I am just hardcore ditching the haterade from you guys here. I think this is...
Whoa! Friends, welcome to the hottest, or at the very least, lukewarm takes on education. This is Dig It or Ditch It. All right, friends, we are back better, or maybe badder than ever. We'll see. With our friend, our best friend of the pod, Noah Geisel. How's it going, buddy?
Fantastic. Super great to be with you guys.
So here's how it works. Noah asks us questions. We don't know what the hell he's going to ask us. And we will give, something, our hot take responses. Well, I'll give some sort of take that people will be mad at me about, and Glen will say something really smart.
Yeah.
And
framed
Noah
in the
will say
context
something
of digging it or ditching it. And,
framed in the context of digging it or ditching it.
And listeners, if you have, we do this for you, not to satiate our own egos. If you have topics that you want us to dig or ditch on, please submit them. And in that spirit, we have our very first listeners contributed Dig It or Ditch It question.
Oh,
Yes.
This is exciting.
Nice.
Dan Cranis, listener Dan Cranis submitted Dig It or Ditch It, authors doing book studies on their own books, and guessing this is in the context of edu authors. Mike, Glenn, Dig It or Ditch It?
I'm going to ditch it. It just seems not very genuine to me. If people are into your book, let them do the damn book study. I get the marketing, I get the business, I get the buzz and you wanting to create conversation about your book. I get all that. I hope, I'm writing a book, and I hope that the people that are going to read it will like it enough that they want to talk about it. I don't want to force people to talk about it, or even... because I don't want to suggest that these authors that are doing this are forcing people to talk about their book. There are people that jump into this wholeheartedly. They would love to talk about the book. Maybe there are people that don't know how to do a book study or start it, so they say to the author, "I'd love to do a book study, but I don't know what to do. Maybe you can do it for me." It's a little complicated, but I just would love for books to stand on their own merits.
Love how Mike jumps in with a super hot take and then walks it back to just step into
Right down the middle, boys. Right down the middle.
Dig it or ditch it?
Hot take. Totally ditch it. You should not be hosting your own, basically saying, okay, check this out, then I'm going to analyze my own book and then bring you along as fans, I guess, of the book or the knowledge within the book, and then be able to do that. Now, I could see, though, that someone hosts one of these, right? And then they invite the author to join them to give that kind of that background voice. I was thinking more of where you want to dig in deeper to something of what were they thinking on this specific part, and then they could give some more feedback on whatever it might be. I could see that. I think many times, though, you were right, Mike, in that first section where you were actually doing the hot take, where they are doing it for promotional purposes. And I don't blame someone for doing that, but it's man, that's not where I would go with it. If your book is popular and people are wanting to do book studies on it, it will do amazing anyway. You don't need to, kind of do that on top of it, because then it makes it definitely, there's something not authentic about that.
Yeah.
I am going to hardcore dig it. And I am just hardcore ditching the haterade from you guys here. I think this is this is coming, I think, from a very judgy place. I just see zero harm in an author running a book study. It is opt-in. There is nobody. So that, to Mike's point around forcing, there is zero force. It is an invitation. It is all pull, zero push. I think that for a lot of readers, it's a value add. And I just don't see, I see zero harm in the world from an author doing this. I think that there's a whole lot of books that I've read where I would love a chance to, engage directly with the author in a book study. I would love for them to tell me, I would love to hear from them the questions that they would love to hear me as a reader thinking about as I'm reading, even if I'm not going to do that, right? Like I don't have to, but I think it's, I'm hardcore dig. And I guess a parallel to that is, if we talked on this podcast about our homegirl T Swift, if she were to invite us to do a song study on some of her lyrics, like who's not getting in on that, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm a hardcore dig. And I thank the listener for submitting that dig it or dig it question. Mike, I feel like you have more to say.
You threw out some haterade to it.
My head exploded.
It sounded like it was really coming from a place of judging on the authors, and I really think that it's worth stepping back and questioning the assumptions of author intent on running that book study, right? Like, I think is it disingenuous to claim like that there's no promotional value? Totally. Like there's promotional value, and there's also learning value. Like it's not, they're not mutually exclusive.
I totally dig a song study on T Swift.
And if she wants to join
for the record.
Yeah, at Taylor Swift, if you want to come on Dig It or Ditch It and weigh in on this.
We will not haterade on you.
No.
All right. Well, speaking of super hot apps, we talked last time on our 100 episode about absolutist takes, and there was one that I didn't get that I thought I'd bring back, and that is giving 100% grade on something that is either submitted late or resubmitted as a redo assignment. Can a student still get 100%? Dig it or ditch it?
I can go first. I would say dig it. So in other words, it is totally valid for a teacher to give a student 100% for a either redo assignment or something that's turned in late. Mike and I just had the conversation about this, about something parallel to this, as far as there was a Alice Keeler tweet about this. But really, the reason why I say it's okay is because I am grading the content, not the behavior of the student. So for me, as far as a student redoes an assignment and actually then performs, I'm actually judging it on as far as a scale or a level or rubric or whatever it might be. They actually achieve the can-do goals, whatever I'm using. If they demonstrate that they have that, I'm 100% okay with giving them the all of the points there, and I'd even give them the little 100% symbol.
Oh, bring back the emoji.
Mike?
You're trolling me with the emoji. God, I hate that emoji. I have absolutely no problem with giving kids perfect grades if they've earned them on a late assignment. I mean, we're judging content and process, not whether it's necessarily on time or not. We did have a really good discussion about the value of learning and handing things in on time, and that's a skill that kids need to learn. I just don't think deducting marks is the right recourse for. To be honest, I don't necessarily know what the right recourse is, but thank God that's not actually this question. So I'll say that I dig it. The better question, and also not this question, is whether you can give 100% on assignments at all. Whether something is like, I didn't give many perfect marks. So
you were that teacher.
But not necessarily intentionally. I think that there was always room for a little bit of improvement. It was not like some sort of
power.
I was not haterating on my kids.
He did have a secret second Twitter account at Bell Curve.
Yeah, Bell Curve. Sorry, guys.
So yes, you can totally get 100% even though you've handed in something late. I dig it.
I'm going to join you guys on dig on this one. This is our first time in a while, dig, and I am 100% digging on this. And I go into Glen's point, it's about process. And also, for any listeners who don't know that, I'm really into digital badge credentials. And for me, it's really, I'm kind of to a place right now in my evolution on grading of, a real willingness to kind of just go zeros and ones, with the zero really not just mean zero, but not yet.
Not yet.
I'm ready for just not yet and once. And so, and I actually had a chance to see recently an interview with the founder of Atari, and who's doing all kinds of amazing startup stuff. And a quick side story: Bill Gates interned for him as a 19-year-old.
No way.
Came to him and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a company and call it Microsoft. You can own 30% of it for $50,000." And the dude took a pass.
No.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. But one of the things he said was, he said, it was all about, he was talking a lot about education. He said, I think, in my opinion, we need to get away from grades, and there should only be hundreds, and you should not move on until you get 100. So he was really speaking my language. Yes. Speaking of famous people, Malcolm Gladwell has a new book. Ooh. Malcolm Gladwell, dig him or ditch him.
I absolutely dig the hell out of Malcolm Gladwell. First off, he's a Canadian. Second off, he's maybe one of the smartest people on the entire planet. Third, that guy's got a frigging amazing hairdo. And I mean, I'm bald as hell, so I can't really, it's almost Noah-like, to be honest. Yeah, like if Noah puffs up his hair like he's doing now, he's almost at Malcolm Gladwell level. Dude is ridiculously smart. I actually just, swear to God, not lying, I just downloaded Outliers on Audible like 2 days ago. I got a credit, and I used it to download Outliers. So I'm ready to get some Malcolm Gladwell on in the next little while. His podcast is absolutely fabulous. He does this really interesting episode that's always stuck in my head about, like, so first off, go listen to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast. It is so weird.
Revisionist History, listeners, is the name of the podcast.
There it is. I couldn't remember the name. So strange yet brilliant at the same time. Talks about things that you wouldn't think about, but then when you start to think about them, you go, oh my God. Like, the city of LA and how many golf courses are in it, and how it makes for completely unusable living space in the city. And they're taking parks away from the city so that they can create golf courses. And now people can't walk through parks and stuff like that. Like, and it's just the most amazing episode of a podcast. One of the best I've listened to be honest. I love Malcolm Gladwell.
I don't love Malcolm Gladwell, but I actually was trying to find a reason why people would be, anti. I think he's times 100 most influential people. The podcast that you were just talking about, is freaking awesome and so different than almost anything that's out there, and in a great way. So I could see why you're saying as far as you love him. I don't feel like I'm like super like, oh my God, whatever it might be, but I definitely would say I would definitely not, I would dig him, not ditch him. Yes.
We are at dig. I'm also a big fan. I'm currently listening on audiobook to the brand new book, Talking with Strangers. And I will not do any spoilers, but I to answer Glen's question, there are the counterweight argument to folks like Malcolm Gladwell, Daniel Pink, is that they take a lot of really scientific ideas, a lot of stuff that people spend their careers working on, and oversimplify them for the masses. Sort of put it through the pop culture car wash of accessibility, and that, oversimplify and potentially even distort the points. And so there are people out there who totally hate on folks like Malcolm Gladwell, but we are not those people.
No, we're hating on them.
We're haterating them.
I like that every segment we've been able to say haterade at least once.
I know.
I think we need to keep this going.
Yes.
We'll have to find some gifts for that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fellas. Speaking of, and one of the things Malcolm Gladwell is known for, on the topic of oversimplifying things, is a lot of just the way we think. And so, transitioning to our last question, dig it or ditch it. Teachers espousing their practices as being based in brain-based teaching. Dig it or ditch it.
So brain-based teaching as in research-based?
Fair. Well, yeah, clarifying question. So that your teaching strategies, your pedagogy is based off of brain-based research.
Brain research. Oh, that's super hard. In a way, I mean, I'm going to have to throw out a soft take out there. In a way, as an instructional coach, you have to have some kind of guiding principles, and it can't be how you feel about something, So we do focus in. I mean, even we have an in-service day coming up at the end of the week. And I know some of our slides have to do specifically with brain-based research. And those are, we're hyper-focusing on specific things. And that's how come we're trying to influence our teachers to do specific things. Because if it was just me saying, hey, this worked for me, well, who the hell am I? And how am I supposed to be like, I'm a one case person. So the research, yes, it should back it. But also I could see, and I'm doing a mic here, I'm pulling a thing where I could see where there is a lot of research that has not been done yet. I'm thinking about like game-based learning, Mike. There's research done, but not enough. Even the concepts of the badges that you're talking about, Noah, it's not enough of a bulk of research that you can really, say, hey, this has been done. There's like 500 studies that have proven this, this, and this. Whatever might be the meta-analysis, and you can really throw that out there. So I still want people to push the envelope. I still want people to in simplifying ways to experiment and then to find out what are those things that do really work in specific situations, and then continue to spread that, discuss that, and then maybe there will be a meta-analysis done about those things. So I'm sorry, but I took both sides of the thing.
I remember at ISTE 2018, David Eagleman was one of the keynote speakers.
Yes.
And I could never figure out why they invited a neuroscientist to be a keynote speaker at ISTE until I heard him speak. Mm-hmm. And the moment he started speaking, it clicked with me right away that our students, our kids, their brains are different than ours. Not in bad ways, just in different ways. And it is our responsibility as educators to adapt to not just learning changes in terms of technology and pedagogy and all of this other stuff, but the actual physical, chemical changes of our students and their brains. It's actually happening. And I've been trying to think about that a lot, especially as I talk to other educators about things like Minecraft, for example. And I think that the games-based learning narrative ties really well with the brain-based learning narrative, and that our kids' brains are different. I think that those things are intertwined a little bit, in the sense that and a book that you could even intertwine with this is Jordan Shapiro's The New Childhood, in the sense that our kids are different. They're not bad different. They're just different. And we need to adapt and modify to not just learning styles and technology and all this stuff, but to actual differences, physical differences. And Jordan speaks to this, and David Eagleman speaks to this, and I am absolutely digging us being aware and mindful that our kids are different physically than we are and that our parents are.
I really like that take, Mike, even though I am a hardcore ditch on this question. But I'm also agreeing with our need to be.
Oh my God.
I do think we need to be mindful of who our students are. And I do think we want to pay attention to that. And, this is conference season, and that's kind of where this question came from, because as I'm looking through programs of different conferences, there are sessions with, brain-based in the title. And, folks are really leaning on some of this stuff. And while I don't think that's bad, I think that there's a really kind of unforeseen potential red flag, and that's that we don't understand it nearly as well as we think we do. And so, that there's actually, and maybe we can drop in the show notes, speaking of research, where teachers have been surveyed, and teachers who, on average, that were presented with a series of facts and series of about the brain and a series of neuro myths. And teachers believed 49% of the neuro myths, particularly myths related to commercialized educational programs. And, one of the things that was actually really surprising is the teachers who read popular science magazines and self-identified as knowing more about the brain actually had an increased probability of believing a neuromyth than the general population.
Wow.
And so I think that while it's okay to, do things that maybe feel right, I think we want to be really careful about crossing over into territory, where there's people who are actual learning scientists, and this is what they do. And they're reading fMRIs, and, that we, going back to the Malcolm Gladwell thing, to kind of take the other side, we kind of oversimplify things. I think one of the and get them wrong. Right. I think one of the classic ones is it's pretty easy to go to a conference and hear something that's been completely debunked, like learning modalities, right? That people are kinesthetic learners or are auditory learners or are visual learners, right? And when, that has been pretty thoroughly debunked, that, and so they're, I think, are big risks to getting it wrong, because it feels right and it feels science-y, and that really, is tougher to argue with when it feels science-y than just our gut.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it a lot.
Really good points.
So, friends, there was your takes. These were great takes.
They were fun.
There was some hot, there was some lukewarm, there was some what's a
some
less
trolling of at Bell Curve Washford.
There was some haterade.
and lots of haterade, apparently. So thanks, Noah, for joining us on Dig It or Ditch It.
Thanks, Mike and Glen, for having me. And listeners, thanks for the first suggestions. Keep them coming.
Thanks for listening to OnEducation. My name is Glen Irvin. My co-host is Mike Washburn. OnEducation is part of the Education Podcast Network. You can listen to this show and many others by great educators like Jennifer Gonzalez, Matt Miller, and many more by visiting edupodcastnetwork.com. Want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at oneducationpod. Mike is at Mr. Washburn on Twitter, and I can be found at Irv Spanish. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/oneducationpod. We're also on Instagram at OnEducationPod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we would be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost. This helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Classcraft, for supporting us. Check out classcraft.com/oneducation to learn more about them. Thanks as always for listening, stay awesome, and see you soon.